Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all with us today for this extremely important and interesting and exciting webinar that we are hosting today. We are really, thankful to our partners in South Africa who have, who have joined us as co-hosts for this webinar. And we're going to be running this webinar today primarily on the Vitality program. So just quickly going into the webinar, if you can move on to the next slide, please. So just some of the housekeeping rules as always. As a moderator, I'll be engaging with all the panelists in the areas that we want to sort of focus on and discuss. And the audience will be allowed to sort of submit their questions online via Zoom. At the end, we will be picking up those questions and reaching out to the panelists for answers or their views on that. The slides and the recordings will be shared, through our social media handles, and they'll be available within 24 hours of the webinar. And God forbid, in case you feel that you're facing any technical difficulties, you'll need to sort of reach out to Zoom and request some of the understanding in case some internet connectivity is kind of lost. Hopefully not, but we'll be back in case there is any challenge on that side. So moving on from there, the title, as it says, it's basically Vitality Health Insurance and how the shared value model is, allowing us to sort of generate a higher return on investment for our, for our policyholders, you at large, I would say. We're going to be starting off the session by delving in deeply into the Vitality philosophy and our friends, our partners from South Africa will take us through that journey. And we'll also explore a bit about how things are in the Pakistani market and how we are positioning that or this particular product in the Pakistani market. We will, at the end of the session, touch on the fitness as well as the nutrition nutrition side of our daily lives. And we would request to sort of for you guys to sort of hold on and go through that, because there's some really excitement, insights and advice that's available in the session. Moving on from there, I'm just glad to sort of introduce you guys to all our panelists, and I'll request all of them to quickly go over a brief intro of them, and then we will get into the webinar. So first, reaching out to Francis to start off the intro, please.
Great, thank you, Naman. Hi, everybody. My name is Francis Bakos. I am head of the Vitality Active program. I look after 9 different countries and also manage the relationship together with IGI Life. And I'd like to thank you for hosting this webinar and for inviting us to speak at it. Thank you.
Tahir.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I'm Tahir. I work as head of business and operations for IGI Life, and I also am the CEO of IGI Holdings Limited.
Great. Leanne?
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leanne Hubert. I'm a Director of Product Development at Vitality Group, looking after the Vitality product proposition for our partner markets around the world.
Great. Over to you, Terry.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Terry Harris. I'm the dietitian within the Vitality Wellness team. So we support the markets with various strategies for the Vitality Wellness pillars, and my focus is on nutrition.
Great. Over to you, Wasif.
Hi, everyone. This is Mohammad Wasif. I'm a fitness consultant from Pakistan. I'm handling 4 brands here in Pakistan and working as a fitness influencer here.
Excellent. And Ali?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Ali Nadeem. I am the Chief Operating Officer at IGI Life, and I'm also an actuary I'm responsible for vitality operations and development of the product here in Pakistan.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. Just to let everybody know that we are streaming live over Zoom, Facebook, and LinkedIn as we speak. And in case, God forbid, you drop off the call, the webinar, the recordings would be available as well just after the session. So I'll quickly, go over to Francis and request him to start having a discussion about the philosophy of vitality and take us through the journey of the product. Over to you, Francis.
Great. Thank you, Naman. So Vitality started in 1997, and it really started as a dream, as just an idea. The idea was, could we make people healthier? Is there a way for us to be able to control the need for healthcare? And so Vitality was born from this idea of, if we can get people to change their behavior and to engage in healthy activities, then would that increase their wellness, increase their health, and overall improve their risk? I think in 1997, we had no idea really of how big a scale Vitality would achieve. But now we're in over 20 different countries in the world. We have more than 20 million Vitality customers throughout the world, and we're very excited to be partnered with IGI in Pakistan and to be making the lives of the Pakistani people healthier as well. If we can go to the next slide, as I said, Vitality is the oldest wellness program in the world. We're also the largest program in the world. But the one thing about Vitality is that everything that we do is based on clinical principles and based on science. Everything in the program, the number of times you need to exercise, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, the sodium content in your food, whether you should smoke or not, although that one's quite obvious, everything is based on scientific principles, on the clinical principles that lead to overall wellness and to an improvement in health. And actually, we've been globally recognized by a number of different publications in the world with regards to the concepts of vitality, with regards to the difference that we're busy making in people's wellness, and specifically around the concepts of shared value. If you go to the next slide, Vitality was actually ranked number 17 in terms of the companies in the world that are changing the world, that are having a major impact in terms of the world's global problems. And we were the only insurance company to make the top 50 in terms of the companies that are changing the world. But the reason for that is because underpinning the entire Vitality program is this concept of shared value. And I want to try and explain exactly what shared value is. The concept of shared value is quite simple. What you want to do is you want to do good for society. You want to do good for the country. You want to do good for people. And so in doing so, you're doing social value, you're doing social good. You're improving the wellness of people. But if you were only improving the wellness of people and nothing else, that would be seen as charity, nothing more. The concept of shared value is that in terms of doing, or in doing the good, in making people healthier, in making people more, you actually generate economic value. And why do you generate economic value? It's because in making people healthier, you lower their healthcare costs, you increase their life expectancy. And in doing that, you generate additional economic value. And it's that economic value that we then take and we use that to give people more rewards or more incentives to continue with their good behavior, to continue to be healthier, to motivate them to continue being healthier. On the next slide, we have a very simple equation to try and explain exactly how this concept of shared value works. Starting from the left-hand side, what we want to do is we want to maximize the value per customer, maximize the economic value per customer. And how do we do that? By giving an incentive to each Vitality member that results in a change in their behavior. So I reward you for doing something that you know you should do anyway. You know you should exercise. You know that you should eat well. You know that you should be at a healthy weight or have good cholesterol. And so what we do is we are prepared to reward you in return for you doing these behaviors that ultimately are going to result in your improved health. So that change in your behavior results in an improvement in your health, and an improvement in your health ultimately results in an improvement in your risk, which generates more economic value. And the beauty of the Vitality program is the more we reward you, the more you behave in a way that is better for you, that ultimately improves your health, that ultimately generates more economic value. And the more economic value, the more we can keep rewarding you. And so it forms this virtuous cycle of these rewards, this behavior, this improvement in health. And we're very committed to it. On the next slide, see, we have a pledge together with our partners around the world. We want by 2025 to make 100 million people 20% more physically active. And we're very honored that IGI has taken part in that pledge, taken part in that promise. And we're hoping to add millions of Pakistanis to our pledge and to those people that are going to become more physically active by 2025. So Vitality gives you these incentives for good behavior. And what sort of behaviors do we focus on? On the next slide, in the top right-hand side, you'll see there are 4 key behaviors that we focus on: physical activity, your diet, smoking, and in most parts of the world, excess alcohol consumption. And it's been scientifically proven that it's those 4 key behaviors, because they're choices, those 4. It's those 4 key choices that people make every single day that are ultimately responsible for 60% of the deaths worldwide. But if those 4 choices were so easy to make, everybody would be choosing them. It wouldn't be a problem. But there is actually a paradox in that, because it is difficult to get out of bed early in the morning and go for a run. It is difficult when you're with your family to turn away the dessert because you're trying to lose weight or because you want to maintain a healthy BMI. If you're a smoker, it is difficult to give up smoking. And so there's this paradox. We all know what we should do, but it's difficult to do what we should do. And Vitality changes that paradox, because if I'm willing to reward you for getting out of bed early and for going for a run, or for leaving work and going to a gym, if I'm willing to reward you, it changes the dynamic, it changes the mental state. And so what happens is you start to become willing to do those things. And the more you do them, the more we reward you. And so again, it becomes this cycle of upliftment in terms of your overall wellness. And wellness cannot be underestimated, especially in this times with COVID-19. If you go to the next slide, we've done quite a lot of studies with regards to what ultimately results in people going to hospital or not going to hospital if they contract the virus. And Leanne is going to speak about that quite a lot more later. But what we find is a really high probability to help you to not go into hospital. One of those things happens to be Vitality engagement. Why? Because the more you engage in Vitality, the better your health metrics, the better your wellness, and therefore the lower your risk with regards to if you do contract disease, with regards to it impacting you and overall ending up in hospital. Great. So I think Leanne will talk a lot more about that a little bit later. Noman?
Sorry. So thank you so much, Francis. You mentioned about the change in behavior and the incentivization for that particular change. The market that we are present right now, classified as a third world market, or maybe a developing market to a certain extent. What's the kind of impact you have seen of this shared value model in our type of markets?
So while Vitality is in 20 different countries around the world, and while there are very different factors inside each of those countries, right? There's different population groups, there's different ages, there's different socioeconomic factors that all impact the overall population. But I must say, the one thing that we find to be quite stable inside each country is this principle of behavioral economics, that everybody is willing to do something different if the reward for doing something different is good enough and meaningful to them. And so in every one of our countries around the world, we modify the program, we modify the types of rewards that we give people so that it's motivational to that specific relation type and specific to that socioeconomic climate, so that we can still get the effects of the Vitality program. And we see that consistently throughout our markets, throughout the world, and including in Pakistan, where we've seen excellent engagement in the program and a really good take-up of the change in behavior.
Thank you so much, Francis. Really helpful for the audience over here. I'll just quickly go over to Tahir, who is heading the business and operations for IGI Life Vitality, and he's also the CEO at IGI Holdings. Welcome to the session, Tahir, and over to you for a quick intro on IGI Life Vitality.
Thank you, Noman. My engagement with the Vitality, the Vitality team in South Africa, only started last year. But I can already see, from when I first met them, that why our sponsors, the people behind, the family behind IGI Life and the whole group, was so keen to develop a partnership with Vitality. One can instantly recognize that this is one of the companies that's future looking, that's forward looking. And, as a group, we, IGI and, the larger group, the packages group, have always known to come, to join hands with the likes of Nestle, Tetra Pak, and Mitsubishi, to come up with innovative, progressive products and launch them in Pakistan. So, there was a perfect fit there. I'll just take you through, in this slide, very briefly, what the group stands for and what we have been doing in the past 60 years of our existence. As I've explained before, I've just, highlighted the point that the group, the family that, that these companies belong to, the sponsors, they like to grow by joint ventures. And, as you will see from the left-hand side of my slide, these are the joint ventures that the packages group had with many multinationals from dating back from 80s and 90s. So, for example, we have there Nestle, which is a joint venture between us and Nestle of Vevey, Switzerland, and that is the local Nestle makes Milk Pack. Milk Pack was a brand which was first introduced by Packages Group. And in collaboration with another company called Tetra Pak Pakistan. So back in the 80s, this was the first company to actually start distribution of milk in tetrahedron packaging, which was again a groundbreaking technology developed by Tetra Pak. And they had the monopoly over this, they had the patent for this, and we were the only ones in Pakistan to join hands with them. And this has been a tremendous success in the last 30 or so years of its existence. The company has grown from, from a very small outfit selling only to urban areas to a company which is well recognized across Pakistan. We've had similar successes with the likes of Mitsubishi, Dai Nippon Inks. You see there, it's one of the largest ink manufacturers in the world. Again, very innovative. Mitsubishi, they came up with a BOPP film, which we now see everywhere. It's like the cling wrap that we see in all sorts of packaging, and that was something that was new for the Pakistani market back in the 90s when this was introduced. The group has also, ventured into the consumer product side. We have joint ventures with SC Johnson, with Coca-Cola, and Rose Petal is one of our local brands which sells tissue papers. Again, the very product tissue paper is something, it is very common these days in every household. But back in the 80s, this was not something that Pakistanis were used to. So we introduced these products to the Pakistani market. And similarly, vitality, as you've heard Francis and speak about vitality and what their shared value model is. For us, this was a no-brainer, the partnership with Vitality, and hence we started this back in 2018. I joined the bandwagon in 2019, actually, a year after the joint venture had, or the partnership had started. But I can only see that they are like our family now. It's a company that shares the same ethos that we have, and they are so forward-looking. We want to do something different in life insurance in this country. Everybody sells investment-linked products. Everybody sells term life insurance. But this was a concept that was not heard of before in Pakistan. And we are very proud to have, joined hands with Vitality and come up with a product which we believe has a future in Pakistan. And again, we share the same goal that Vitality has worldwide, for the Pakistani market, to make people more healthy. And by doing so, we would obviously make economic value, which we will share with our customers. And obviously, as a company, we are there to make profits, and we will, hopefully make profits out of it as well. So the shared model is perfect in the way it sits with our overall group philosophy and the way we have grown over the last 50 or 60 years as a group. So that's us. I'm sure people would have questions later on, Noman. And
thank you so much. Thank you, Tahir. I just want to quickly ask you whether you mentioned about something being done differently in this particular market. How have you found the Vitality value and shared value model, impacting positively the IGI value proposition in the market? And do you believe that it has given a certain first mover advantage to IGI Life in this particular market?
Absolutely, Noman. What we've seen, and we only launched this last year, and first there was a soft launch, and then we actually went into the hard launch around June of last year. And what we've seen is that the product is already, it constitutes about 50% of all the new business that we are doing. And all our distribution partners, our agents, our bankers, the bank assurance team, and also the group, the corporate sales team, they've all of them, there hasn't been one instance where I've found that the product doesn't tick with them, or it doesn't, they can't understand it, or they feel that, it's not something for the market. So all the distribution channels have actually taken this up as as something very, very positive. And we have already seen this filter through our results, our sales. Like I said, 50% is now Vitality, IGI Life Vitality, all new business from bank assurance channels, from agency channels. And that's the reason why we are now growing it further. We're trying to partner up with the sort of non-conventional distribution channels like digital marketeers, companies that, normally are called aggregators. So we are expanding our distribution, and wherever I've gone, and I personally go out with my sales team to the corporate clients, and wherever we have pitched Vitality, it has been an instant success. So absolutely, the future for life insurance in this country.
Great, thank you so much, Tahir. I'll move over to Leanne now and request her to sort of walk us through the content on the post-COVID world we all are living in today. Over to you, Leanne.
Thank you, Naman. So, as Francis has said, at Vitality, our core purpose is to make people healthier and to enhance and protect their lives. And we really do believe that this purpose is as relevant as ever in light of the current corona pandemic. In the area specifically of health and wellness, we think that we're likely to see a number of shifts given the current pandemic, and largely for the better. You can shift slides. We think that it's likely that wellness and resilience and immunity are going to become more central and front and center in people's minds, given that more than 50% of the deaths attributed to the coronavirus are with those with underlying comorbidities. And these are conditions of lifestyle. So largely conditions that can be managed and that can be prevented. In addition, we think that the shift towards aging in a healthy way, not just a focus on living longer, but living healthier, is going to be front and center. And absolutely, as we've seen, like across the world in many spheres of life, there's this accelerated shift to digital and to doing things online. And we believe that the Vitality program is able to kind of support that, with healthcare projected to have over 1 billion digital consultations just in 2020 alone. And from a physical activity perspective, a shift to changing engagement patterns through exercising at home. But one of the things that that we've seen, or we know, like around the world, there's been a lot of research to date around the COVID-19 pandemic, with many findings, but the findings so far are limited when assessing the impact of health and lifestyle on COVID-19 related hospital admission risk. And given the extensive healthcare data that Discovery has, with the 3.5 million lives that are under the administration by the medical scheme here in South Africa, the team have been able to draw unique insights into the risk factors driving hospital-related admissions linked to COVID-19. And these results are showing a very strong link between engagement in the Vitality program and in COVID-19 related hospital admission risk. So what the team have been able to do is they've used some advanced learning, machine learning techniques to look at the impact of specific demographic, health and lifestyle related factors on the risk of being hospitalized if you contract the virus. So the model has looked at 32 such factors, trying to isolate the most relevant factors that predict admission, and it looks to understand the extent to which each of those individual factors increase the risk of hospitalization. And the outputs so far are showing two things: that it's well known that risk increases with age and also with patient complexity, and decreases with increased physical activity, where physical activity is a measure of engagement in the Vitality program. So, and what we're seeing is that members who engage in regular physical activity have up to an 11% lower risk of hospitalization should they contract COVID-19 when compared to people who are not part of the Vitality program. And we see this link also with those who are less engaged. So even small shifts in behavior towards a healthier lifestyle are showing a lower risk of hospital admission of up to about 6% in what we call our unengaged population. And the definition here between engaged and unengaged: an engaged person is defined as someone who engages in physical activity 2 to 3 times a week. So that we've been able to measure through verified physical activity data that we receive. You can remain on the previous slide. And in parallel, we've looked just at a concept which we call the Vitality Age, which is a health indicator that gives members a reflection of their overall health based on their lifestyle factors and clinical indicators like their blood pressure and BMI, etc. And what we're seeing is people whose Vitality Age is equal to or lower than their current age have again this reduced risk of hospital admission relative to someone whose Vitality Age is 4 years older than their current age. And on the next slide, the last kind of interesting finding out of the study has been that this reduction in hospital admission risk is seen not just like for the population as a whole and kind of in young healthy lives, but we're seeing this reduction in risk even at older ages and with those with underlying chronic conditions. So if you look at the graph on the very right, that's a cohort of individuals, males over the age of 60 with 2 underlying chronic conditions, hypertension and diabetes. And you can see as members in that particular cohort engage in physical activity, the risk of hospital admission on the advent of COVID-19 is significantly reduced. So, I mean, we're very proud of this analysis, and it really is quite insightful and amazing. And while it's still evolving, the insights are really showing the emphasis and importance and the power of the Vitality program in its ability to change people's lives for the better, and how Vitality is able to support a shift towards wellness and prevention at this time. So on the next slide, as a result of the impacts of the Vitality program and just our partnerships with insurers around the world, what our partner insurers have been able to do is have a very positive response and a strong message of support for clients and the sales force at this time. The emphasis really from our partner insurers has been around helping clients to stay healthy and happy at home through the provision of digital tools and programs to help and support and reward members for remaining healthy. And I'll talk to a couple of examples of those in a minute. And then just from an insurance perspective, our partner insurers, the key message that they've been able to deliver is one of providing peace of mind that they are covered at this time, the support for the medical profession at this time through positive reimbursement arrangements, which I'll talk to as well in a minute, and also just support for the distribution force as they move to try and digitize their ways of operation. So on the next slide, there's a couple of examples from various Vitality programs around the world where the program has adjusted very rapidly to ensure that engagement from a digital perspective and the provision of rewards that are meaningful at this time whilst people are at home is supported. So in the areas of exercise and staying healthy, Vitality has switched focus to providing digital tools to help members exercise at home through the provision of home workout channels supported by many of our brand ambassadors, access to devices and apps that support working out and exercising at home. And another key area of focus for the Vitality program is around nutrition and healthy eating. So at this time, many people are cooking more at home, they're eating out less, which is both a good thing, but it has required the development of new skills, and Vitality is supporting this through the provision of digital platforms where people have access to online cooking courses and videos to help them cook better whilst at home, and in tandem with that, the access to deeper discounts on healthy food that they purchase at some of our partner grocery stores. From a rewards perspective, ensuring the motivation and carrying on of engagement with the rewards with this program has been important, but rewards have needed to be shift to being digital in nature. So in the UK, for example, they've altered their program to provide incentives that are digital through the downloads of online content, videos at home, and the delivery of home coffee pods, given that people can't access their regular rewards at Starbucks. And this is expanded in other areas of health and well-being too, from a mental well-being perspective, and also into leveraging technology to undertake what we call a Vitality health check, which is important to understand your key biometric and risk factors, and being able to do that digitally through consultations with nurses over a digital channel. And then on the next slide, I mentioned earlier that as insurers and insurance partners, there's been a massive opportunity at the moment to take a position of leadership and to respond positively to this pandemic through the announcements of enhanced cover from an insurance perspective. There's some examples on this slide from what our partner in the UK has done, where they've launched additional benefits for those who are hospitalized as a result of COVID-19. They've also increased access to online doctors and specialist consultations and adjusted their reimbursement arrangements for doctors who are providing these services. And in a similar manner, in South Africa, the response from Discovery has really been to address the impact of the economic downturn that it's had on our members, on small businesses, and also the medical profession by providing alternative funding mechanisms for the scheme contributions, provision of premium concessions to small businesses, and advance payments to doctors to support their practices at this time. So in conclusion, on the last slide, if we put all of this together, the pandemic has highlighted the importance of health, wellness, and kind of preventative measures. And we've been able to demonstrate how Vitality can support all of this through at-home measures to continue to manage risk and drive engagement in a healthy lifestyle, leveraging technology, the power of technology kind of in this process. And most importantly, we've seen this response from insurers around the world taking the opportunity to respond in a way that positively impacts their clients, that positively impacts the medical professionals and their distribution force at this time, all is in this kind of umbrella of being a force for social good. Thanks, Noman.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leanne. It was extremely insightful. I can see tons of questions pouring in, but there's one thing I just wanted to check with you while we are on the topic. You know, obviously COVID-19 has impacted all of us, and our lives have changed. You know, for the foreseeable future, at least. When it comes to this program, and specifically when it comes to physical activity that a member normally goes through, have you seen any change in behavior, like for example, an increase or a decline across different markets for physical activity, you know, in this pandemic time?
No, thanks, Soman. We were at the kind of onset of the pandemic. We expected to see a massive decline in physical activity from members around the world, and we were kind of anticipating that. But we've been really surprised that while there has been a reduction, that reduction has been quite low, and kind of on average, we're only seeing about a 9% reduction in physical activity, showing that members who engage in the program are still finding ways to engage, and we hope that the kind of the tools and platforms that we've put in place is what's supporting that. So yes, there's been a small downshift in engagement from a physical activity perspective, but not nearly as large as what we thought it would be.
Okay, thank you so much, Leanne. We'll move over to the next topic in the session, and this is specifically when it comes to how it impacts all of us here in Pakistan. And the shared value model of Vitality. I would request for that if Ali Nadeem could you know, walk us through how Vitality is enhancing the return for its policyholders, primarily the economic value that you know, the policyholders you know, win at the end of the day. So over to you, Ali, on that.
Thank you, Noman. So we can go to the next slide. So I think this is, you know, amazing presentations by Francis and Leanne have explained the fundamentals of the Vitality program, and then I think I'm going to learn a lot more detail as to, you know, the benefits of getting engaged in the healthy activity. But I think what essentially comes down is how does it, where does IGI Life come in, and also how do you purchase the product and what sort of benefits you get from engaging with the program. So just a little bit about you know, the products that are offered in the industry and how the Vitality product compares with the industry. If you can focus on the second and third on the second and the third columns, you'll see that the products that are currently offered in Pakistan on the unit-linked side are pretty standard, and it is very easy for any insurance company to replicate any other insurance company's products, and that's why there's all the products across, you know, various bank insurance channels and agency channels, and even now the digital distribution channels. There's barely any differentiation between any of the products. Where, you know, I think, and I think I'd like to link what Tahir Saab at the beginning said, and this is where, you know, the philosophy of the group comes in, is to, you know, really change the game in the insurance industry, and that's where Vitality's partnership has come in. Is, you know, we are able to offer a very differentiated product by integrating Vitality on top of the products that are offered here in the Pakistani market. That's why in the last column you see that the current product is the top part is very similar to what is still offered here in Pakistan. is the bottom part which says bronze, silver, and gold and platinum. And these are your vitality statuses that you achieve, and I'll talk about them in the next slide. And these are the benefits that you can get from engaging with the program. And this is the real differentiator to offer here in the Pakistan market. So we can go to the next slide. How Vitality works is, every week you get a target, you achieve that target, and you get a weekly reward. Then there is a monthly reward that you get, where you can engage with our Samsung cashback benefit. You go, you purchase a watch, and then you get an upfront 30% discount if you engage with if you buy the watch through our program, and then you can earn the watch back over a period of 2 years, which is almost 21,000 in terms of its value every year. And then on top of all of this you get a benefit on your policy, which is a reward on an annual basis, and that you get about 18% of your premium is paid back if you attain the platinum status on the Vitality program. And there is, on the previous slide, you could see what benefit you could get if you were a gold status or a silver status. And now 18% is very high. For example, if the stock market remained flat for the whole year, but just because you were engaged in your Vitality program, if you had paid 100,000, you'd simply get 18,000 back. Now nobody's, and it's all in your hands. It's not dependent on the stock market. It's not dependent on anything else but you being engaged with the program, and you'll be benefiting from living a healthy life. And then you'll also be benefiting from a returns perspective directly. So now we go to the next slide. This is where you see the power of adding Vitality to a normal product. If any of the products that are offered in the market, and even our products that were offered before Vitality, somebody paying 100,000 premium would have just accumulated a cash value, expected cash value, about 1.25 million. But when you layer on Vitality with the monthly benefits, the Samsung benefit, and the integrated benefit that I talked about at the end of the year, you can get up to 71% more value by engaging in the program. And one question that the person thinks is, I'm getting 71% more value. What is the cost of that? And that you can see is a very, very small red bar showing a cost over a period of 10 years of about 38,000 only. So, if you just logically think of it, every month you pay 320 rupees, but you can achieve a 500 rupee voucher by just achieving one weekly target. So that's unheard of, and that's why you're able to give 71% more value if you're engaged in a Vitality program. Can we go to the next slide, please? The other question that somebody could think of is that if I'm engaged in a Vitality program, am I worse off if I'm not engaged? And this is where the cash value comparison helps. You will never be worse off. You will only have an upside for having Vitality. If you're not engaged, no problem. You would not be a worse off customer compared to any of our non-Vitality products that are out there, or even compared to the competition.
Thank you so much, Ali. Very helpful information for the Pakistani market and also our customers who are viewing us today. One very quick question for you. You talked about rewards under the shared value model. Have you seen any substantive change for good or for worse in terms of the rewards being achieved by the policyholders in Pakistan during this COVID-19 pandemic environment?
Yeah, I think Pakistan, it's very interesting when Lian said that globally there's a 9% decline in the physical activity. Interestingly, Pakistan behaved the other way around. Before the COVID-19 lockdowns here in Pakistan, people that were achieving their weekly targets was in the range of 30 to 35%. and right after the lockdown, people achieving their weekly targets were close to about 50%. So there's almost been a 1.5 increase in the Pakistani market versus I think what Lian was explaining, what is globally. So which is quite amazing for us.
Excellent. So this is very good news for all of us that we've actually seen a positive uptake on that. From here on, we'll go over to the next section of our webinar, and I'll like to request Terry to walk us through the the approach that Vitality suggests from a healthy behavior perspective when it comes to the diet and nutrition. So over to you, Terry.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity. If you may, please move to my first slide. So within the Vitality umbrella, we have 5 wellness pillars, and it's been mentioned that we really nudge people to improve their physical activity, nutrition, as well as screening and prevention, smoking cessation, and mental well-being. Today, I'll just be using nutrition as a case study. It's certainly not the same solution in every country, but we have had some wonderful successes in South Africa that I'd like to share with you. So on the next slide is really it has been mentioned already about this 4-4-60 model, where we know that there are 4 general behaviors that result in 4 conditions which contribute to 60% of deaths. Now, if you zoom in on that view, just looking specifically at nutrition, what is the impact of a poor diet? And it is devastating. If this is a very detailed slide, so please do go through it in detail afterwards. But you see the numbers are in the millions. The impact of a poor diet alone on cardiovascular disease results in 10 million deaths worldwide in 2017. It's got a major impact on your risk of cancer, diabetes, mental health, as well as immunity, which has really come to the fore now with the COVID pandemic. So all those other factors aside, physical inactivity, the risk of smoking, if you ignore all of those and just zoom in on nutrition, it does have a major impact on disease. And if you look at the next slide, when one really thinks of food and nutrition, what comes to mind first is one's weight, being overweight and obese. And we do have a major problem in the world, and we do in fact have a big fat problem, that there are more than 2 billion people worldwide that are overweight or obese. And if nothing is done to address this, it will increase to 41%. It's currently at about 30%. If we do nothing to intervene, that growth can increase to 41%. And through diet alone, there have been, unfortunately, 4.5 million deaths. And South Africa is not exempt from the situation. We have almost 70% of our women that are obese or overweight, more than 30% of our men, and unfortunately our children have double the average of the global measures, and 13% of our kids are also sitting in a very unfortunate state from a weight aspect. On to the next slide. This is not a situation that can be ignored because it's affecting all of us. As Francis explained so nicely with the shared value model, the reverse is that being an unhealthy weight can affect all of us. The individual feels really they have a higher cost of living. They have a poorer quality of life. They have lower longevity. Us as an insurer, we also feel that impact of our overweight and obese members because they have higher claims. They're admitted to hospital more frequently, and when they are in hospital, they stay longer. And as a society, an obese or overweight person, unfortunately, is less present in the workforce. They're absent more often, and they do have higher health claims. So this is a challenge for all spheres, from the individual to the insurer to us as a society. And on to the next slide. We need to use a different approach. We need to be innovative when we're dealing with this concept, because traditional health promotion is not going to address it. And we have the privilege at Vitality of incorporating behavioral economics together with technology and insights into our data to help us really understand how can we address this problem. Next slide. And our nutrition approach is really 3 powerful principles, because it is important to look at one's nutritional state holistically, to assist people to buy better, to ensure that they know which are the healthy foods, and then to nudge and incentivize them to buy those healthy foods. Then to cook more often, and then lastly to eat healthier. Because as much as we would love everyone to buy groceries and to cook them at home, we understand that we're living in a world where more and more are eating away from home more often. So let's look at the buy better, the buy healthy foods more often. On to the next slide. We have had to be agile, and as Leanne was mentioning, what we've had to do very quickly from a Vitality at Home space. Mid-March is when South Africa went into a lockdown, mid to end of March, and we had to move our entire Vitality offering online. And I had the privilege of being involved with a team that we moved our nutrition offering, so it's Eat Healthier at Home. We've got 3 aspects that we cover, which Leanne has touched on: the Vitality Home Cooking channel, as well as how do we make people buy those healthy foods, and then how do we make sure that they eat healthier. In the next slide, let's just look more in detail at our oldest nutrition benefit, which is the healthy food benefit. We launched it with 2 very large retail partners, Pick n Pay and Woolworths in South Africa, 11 years ago. And the first aspect of that graph just shows that there's a lot of work that one has to do behind the scenes in order for this to be a success. There's a seamless integration together with our partners. And for the member, it's really a wonderful experience, because they can activate, they can prepare their shopping at home by looking at a catalog to see what we've classified as healthy. When they're shopping in the stores, there's an indicator there to guide them on which are the healthy foods. When they pay, again, it's reflected on the till slip to show with the VIT which are the healthy foods, and then they get rewarded. We have different tiers of rewards: 10, 15, up to 25%, and with our latest offering of the bank, those bank members can earn 75% cash back when they purchase the healthy foods. And lockdown, we've doubled that cash back. So those that were on 10 now get 20, the average person gets 50%, and bank members, we've had to cap it at 100%. We don't pay people for buying those healthy foods, but a person with 100% cash back walks away with getting rewarded the full 100% for buying those healthy foods. And this benefit works. If you can move to the next slide, we've seen through published data that firstly, the very cashback, the incentive, as well as the size of the cashback, does improve people's baskets. People choose more vegetables and fruit, and they make that basket healthier with the reward. And the higher the reward, the orange bars show the 25% cashback, their baskets are healthier. And our data science team has looked at various models, and if people are able to shift their baskets from being majority unhealthy items to the majority healthy items, they're able to lose 5 kilograms in weight over a year. So the model and the benefit works, which is a wonderful example of how being innovative can really improve people's purchasing and their food behaviors. On to the next slide of our second aspect is looking at cooking more often. And that is one of the huge benefits of COVID, is people have been forced to cook more. With the closure of restaurants, takeaways, people have had to cook in order to have food available to themselves. And there are wonderful benefits associated with cooking more. Higher longevity, healthier diet, lower risk of being overweight and obese. And we have a beautiful studio at our Johannesburg office here, but it's empty at the moment because of lockdown. So we've had to very quickly open this home cooking channel where we partner with people to be in their kitchens. We have virtual chefs now that you can either book a private class or you can be part of a group, and we teach you in the comfort of your own home how to prepare healthy foods, because a lot of it is is buying the foods, but then the next aspect is how do you prepare it in a healthy way. And just to touch on our last aspect, which is how do we get people to eat healthier? And onto the next slide, it's the environment that makes it very difficult for us to eat healthy, to make healthy choices. It's what we refer to as an obesogenic environment. Portion sizes have increased. The portion sizes and the kilojoule content of desserts and our sides have increased. South Africans prioritize takeaways in restaurants. They spend billions a year on fast foods and takeaways. When I was growing up, eating out was a treat. It wasn't experienced often. But nowadays, we find more than 80% of our teenagers are eating fast food at least once a week. It's a common practice. And also, children experience a lot of advertising of the unhealthy foods. So it's a very tricky environment that we find ourselves in. And just the last benefit and the most recent one that we've launched on the next slide is healthy dining. And this we partnered with 6 restaurants ranging from chicken to fish to Italian, and we offer people 25% cash back when they order the healthy meals, and children get 50% off on the healthy meals there. So again, it's another innovative way on how one can help people make the healthy choice when they're eating away from home.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you so much, Terry. It was really, really insightful and helpful for all of us. Just a quick question for you. You mentioned a lot about nutrition, and you know, in these challenging times, we are also hearing a lot about our, you know, our human, our immunity to certain, you know, certain viruses or other general immunity of us as human beings. So do you see any correlation between nutrition and immunity?
So nutrition is discussed in the COVID world as like 2 extremes. The first is, how do you deal with a critically ill patient in hospital? But we also need to look at, as you're saying, how do we support the immune system in preventing those complications? And the first important message is there's no supplement or single ingredient or single food that can boost your immune system miraculously. It's an overall healthy diet. So it's lots of vegetables and fruit, it's whole grains, it's beans, lentils, chickpeas, a healthy diet with exercise, sleeping well, managing your stress. It's not new, which in that way it's comforting because it's not a new way of eating we need to learn. It's the traditional way that we know about. So lots of vegetables and fruit, making sure you have enough fiber to support your microbiome, which are the good bacteria in your intestine, because that plays a very important role in your immunity. So rather spend your money on good healthy ingredients and eat well consistently day after day, because that does improve and strengthen your immune system.
Okay, great. And anything that kind of links this nutrition and looking after your nutrition with the mental well-being of a human being? Do you think there's any correlation with that?
Huge, and it's a real emerging field known as nutritional psychiatry. How do you eat foods that help you manage depression and anxiety, and how do you prevent those conditions? And the comforting thing again is it's not a new diet. It's what they refer to as the Mediterranean diet, which is the way we should all be eating anyway. Lots of vegetables and fruit, whole grains, beans and lentils, and again, support those good bacteria, your microbiome, with lots of fiber, and limit all the unhealthy foods. Because foods that are high in sugar, that are high in salt, they have inflammatory properties, which does increase your risk of mental health conditions. So it's a less unhealthy foods and more healthy foods, and obviously good sleep patterns and exercise.
Thank you so much, Terry. Great to hear all those insights. I'll move on to the next section, which is the last section. And again, coming back to Pakistan, and we've got Mr. Mohammad Asif, who's a fitness consultant and also an influencer. And we want to hear from him, his insights from what he is going through and what he's seeing, you know, in terms of general well-being and physical well-being of people in this COVID environment. Over to you, Wasif.
Thank you very much, Naman. Basically, if I'd say being a fitness consultant, I haven't seen such program like this. IGI Life Vitality program is, I can say, one of the best program, which is not just leading people toward a healthy and active lifestyle, and really good over more. So let me just quick move on to the problem areas in our society. So the major problem we face is inactive lifestyle. Most of the people working in corporate sectors, even housewives here in Pakistan, they do work a lot. Like they have very sedentary sort of a lifestyle. And especially in this period of time when everything is locked down, school, colleges, and most of the offices, they're working, most of the corporate people working from home. So inactive lifestyle is one of the problem areas. Yeah, and second problem, I feel food consumption, bad timing. For example, if you're not taking your breakfast and lunch and dinner on accurate time, that can be a serious cause for bad health. And then again, as Terry mentioned, a lot of people are not having healthy food, and they have weekly frequencies of having junk food in their diet. That is also a major problem of poor health. And then especially a country like us, where we have like a very hot and humid climate here, and people are not very much worried about their hydration. They need to have a proper water intake and etc. So water is also very essential. And again, rest all over everything. Rest is very important. Few people does not care about their sleep timings and sleep patterns. It is very important for the recovery and killing the stress and all. And also, few people, they don't care about their sleeping hours. They sleep a lot, which is also not very good. So let me just quickly move on to the solutions, how we can cope up these problem areas. For inactive lifestyle, we need to increase our physical activity. I would suggest one person should at least walk 10,000 steps or plus. And you can, walk with your family, you can play with your kids, and you can do some exercises at your home. Most of the gyms are closed because of this pandemic, and there is no barriers. You can work out at your home. There can be a lot of exercises like dancing, skipping, playing with kids, cycling, swimming, and you can take stairs instead of elevators. So there are a lot of ways you can activate. You can do more activity on daily basis. Even if I come to the exercise, if you're working out, let me just suggest few exercises. You can do a lot of stationary jog. You can do some skipping. You can do burpees. You can do push-ups, crunches, mountain climbers, and these sort of exercises. You don't just need gym, because a lot of gyms are closed at the moment, and you can work out at your rooftop, outdoor, or anywhere in your house. And secondly, this is a very hot climate time. Summers are already here. We are about 40 degrees Celsius, and I would suggest everyone need to be hydrated, and you need to keep water intake properly throughout the day. And at least one person should have 12 to 15 glasses of water at this period of time, especially. And after that, if you're working out and you're keeping your hydration level good, you need to rest properly. At least 6 to 7 hours sleep is essential. You need to sleep properly, and you need to fix your time of sleeping sleep hours. And you need to, if you sleep at 11 p.m., you need to be in your bed by 10:30, so that you will be well prepared for your sleep, and you can be getting up fresh next day. And good sleep also cause you killing the stress, and a good recovery from the workout and exercise and your tiring days. And above all, if you're following very good routine of exercises and active lifestyle, and you're sleeping well, you're keeping yourself hydrated, and you're not following the diet nutrition properly, that can also lead you to a poor health. And as Terry has mentioned, a lot of tips and things about nutrition. So I
Great.
think the combination
Great.
and follow the pattern of, yeah. So you were saying something, Aman?
Yeah, thank you so much, Wasif. I just wanted to ask you, since you mentioned something about, we all are going through it with the gyms being shut down. Are you seeing any, different kind of an activity during these times, which shows or kind of reflects that people are still trying to remain active?
Yeah, actually, all the gyms here in Pakistan are closed, especially in Karachi. I've seen a lot of people who used to work out in the gyms. They're now cycling outdoor because traffic is low as well. So this is very supporting environment. And I've seen a lot of fitness videos, cooking videos on the internet and social media. A lot of people trying to design their own workout routines and giving tips to their friends and families and their followers. So I've seen a lot of media people, actors and fashion models doing their fitness videos and all. I think this is moving, and a lot of people are doing workout at their homes. And also I've seen a lot of people walking around the corner and doing cycling outdoor.
Great, great. Thank you so much. And with that, I would, we would just, considering that we've just touched the hour, we're just going into the session with Q&As. And I've got quite a few questions here from the audience. One of the first questions I'm going to pick up, and that's for Leanne. You mentioned something about vitality age. Okay, our audience wants to understand a little bit more about what vitality age is.
Well, certainly. So The vitality age is something that we calculate for our members as an output from a health risk questionnaire that we ask them to complete. And really they answer a set of questions around their current lifestyle. So how frequently are they currently exercising? What does their current diet look like? What kind of stress factors are in their life? And we also ask questions linked to kind of key biometrics. So what is their blood pressure, their cholesterol, their body mass index, etc., should they know that. And the output of all of those questions calculates an age. So, and then this age you can compare to your actual age. So if I'm a 35-year-old woman, I may get an age that says I'm actually 39. And the differential between my actual age and then this risk indicated age, which we call the vitality age, is used as a predictor of my health risks and kind of the impact that my lifestyle choices are making on my health and well-being, and ultimately my mortality and my morbidity. So yeah, that's the vitality age. And then what I was saying is that we're seeing people who have a vitality age that is the same as their actual age or younger are showing a reduced risk of hospitalization if and when they contract COVID-19.
Okay, great. One of the questions for you, Francis, there's a question from the audience about being, the question is basically from Mr. Saad, and he's talking about how would I not be worse off if I'm on bronze status as compared to if I don't have vitality. So this is a question specifically for Francis.
Great. So I think there are two parts to that question. The one part I can definitely answer. The other part I think Ali would also be able to answer. I mean, the simple fact that when you join Vitality and when you're even on bronze status, you are already getting information from the program. There's certain things that you would still engage with in the program, and you would just be more aware of your overall health and your overall health metrics. And we always try and design the program in such a way that even the bronze members are still getting some benefits from the program. Then the other part of the question is how those metrics link in with, if you're on bronze status, how does that actually impact your underlying investment or your underlying insurance product? But I think Ali, I'm not sure if you maybe want to answer that question.
Sure. Sorry, you guys can hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
So I think what I was trying to say when I say that you're not worse off is that there is no negative penalty for being on a bronze status. There is only upside to being on a silver and a gold and a platinum status. The only cost that you will be charged is your vitality fee, which I had explained earlier, which was 320 rupees a month. And over a 10-year period, that will, on the same example that I showed earlier, that comes to still less than 3% as cost of your total cash value. So, I mean, there's no negative marking, or there's no penalty for not being engaged in the program. That's what I meant when I say you're not worse off. But yes, if you pay a fee which is 320 rupees a month and not engage with the program at all, that's the only cost that you will incur over the 10-year period.
Great, thank you so much, Terry. There's there's a question around any tips that you may have to sort of share with our viewers with regards to looking after or managing their pantry and fridge. Anything that you would suggest for the audience here?
So it's been a tricky time for us all, because being at home gives us more access to snacks, to foods that we have available all the time. It's far easier to distance yourself from food when you're at the office, to be honest. But it has been a wonderful time and opportunity to firstly use this time to learn a new skill. So whether it's a cooking skill, an old family recipe that you enjoy eating but you don't know how to cook yourself, but ways to really pack your pantry, pack your fridge in a smart way is when you open that fridge or that pantry, what you see first is what you're going to be enticed to eat. So make sure it's the healthy foods that you see first. Put them right up, prepare the foods that they're easy to eat. So when you buy vegetables, like carrots or cucumber, for example, chop them all up so they're ready to snack on and put them right at the front of the fridge so it's the first thing you see. And for other unhealthy foods, try the option to distance yourself, physically distance all the unhealthy foods. So put them in containers that are not transparent and put them way at the top of your cupboard so you actually don't see them. And with that concept of out of sight, out of mind, you will hopefully choose more of the healthy foods. Of course, it's best to not get those foods into your house in the first place, but we're all irrational humans. We all enjoy the odd treat. So we're not saying absolutely no treats, but just spend some time going through your cupboards. Look at all those spices, all those herbs that we use that possibly have expired. Use this as a nice time to spring clean your kitchen, your cupboards, your fridges, and place all those healthy foods right up front. Put those unhealthy foods out of sight. And also use this as an opportunity to learn something new. A cooking skill is a wonderful way to pass down traditions through families and also to ensure that it's healthy.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful. I've got a question for Wasif, and the question is regarding any suggestion you have in terms of what kind of exercise should one take on if the person is a cardio patient, and specifically in these serious COVID-19 scenario. And this is a question from Khatija.
Okay, if you have the cardiac condition, you can definitely should not go for a high intensity workout. You can start with low impact cardio. I would suggest you should go for a walk, and you can gradually increase your intensity. And you should wear some devices which has a heart rate monitor, and you can get your suggestion from expert trainers and or maybe with your physician, and you can get the guidelines of training zone of your heart rate, and you should monitor your heart rate and start with low impact cardio, for example, walking or maybe recumbent bike or low impact cycling.
Okay, thank you. There's one question for you, Ali, and this is primarily for the 18% extra that you have talked about. Once a policyholder achieves the platinum status. So, is this 18% growth on attaining platinum status based on the on the basic rate of profit plus 18%, or is it 18% of the attained profit? That's the question from somebody called Masood.
It's 18% of the premium paid. So if you paid a premium of 100,000, so you'll get 18,000 every year. That's why if you go and look in my graph, at the end of 10 years, you've accrued a benefit of 100,000.
Okay. That's helpful.
How the market performs okay. Positive or negative.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Leanne. There's a question around your partner markets, and I just wanted to understand whether your the partner insurers in different markets. How have they actually gone out and supported people in COVID-19? Any specific example from any market that you would like to share?
Sure. I mean, we've had fantastic response from all of our markets. Maybe an example off the top of my head is just in Australia. I mean, they've really tried to adjust their program across all the spheres that we target, from physical activity, mental well-being, and nutrition, to kind of put benefits in place to help members continue with engagement. And one of my favorites is really from a mental well-being perspective, how socially they, in the context of social distancing, they have encouraged families whilst in lockdown with their children to participate in these treasure hunts, which they've called teddy bear hunts, just to get people out of the house but not mixing with others, and around the neighborhood looking for teddy bears, which the children are absolutely loving. So I mean, that's a very small example of how Vitality in Australia have been supporting the mental well-being of their clients.
Thank you, Leanne. And dovetailing into that, this is a question for Tahir. We just want to understand how IGI Life Vitality has actually coped up with the COVID-19 crisis, and how have you actually reached out to your customers, and what difference have you created for the market at large in this time?
Thank you, Numan. Um, I think this is a very pertinent question given the times. And while I must admit that we weren't really expecting such a pandemic, we haven't really thought about it. And I'm sure most of the participants would agree that none of the corporate planning actually happened around such a big pandemic. But what has really, come to the fore and has made me proud of IGI as a family and IGI Life in particular is the fact that there hasn't been a single day that we've had any downtime. IGI Life, we have, while during the lockdowns, we were obviously not allowed to open our offices, but our call centers had a special permission. So all our call centers, our health insurance call centers, as in, the health, the managed care call centers, our claim call centers, our telematics, customer tracking call centers, they were all open. Most of us were working from home, and the systems were robust enough that we've been able to respond to the queries of our customers almost, in a way that they didn't even feel that we were not actually physically working in the office. And I think this webinar is a perfect example of this. I'm sitting at home. Most of the participants are all around the world, and Ali, I can see, is at the office. Again, it's the way our IT technology, the investments that we had done in the technology has really paid off. Our the employees have really helped us out in this hard time, and the company has obviously helped back as well. I have never had a complaint in the last 3 months about any delayed claims or any payments that were delayed to any of our partners, our distribution channels. And to be honest, I'm really grateful for our banking partners and our digital partners who've kept the clock ticking. Bank Al Falah, our partners from the digital side, Smart Choice, Nadeem Malik Saab, who's doing a great job in integrating all of that together. On the banking side, like I said, other than Alpha, we have Standard Chartered and Sonari as our partners, as our main partners. Agency has been, doing a wonderful job. So I believe across the board, what we have found is that this pandemic actually has given us an opportunity to show our competitors and indeed our customers that we are open, and what we had invested, what we were saying, we were touting in the past that we have invested, that has really come up as a success factor for us.
Thank you so much, Tahir. I think that's really reassuring for all the audience, because a lot of our customers are watching us today, and I think this is extremely important in the times that we are going through. So I just wanted to sort of thank all of you here, our worthy panelists, and I must point out that this is the first co-hosted webinar with Vitality that we've done. And I think for the Vitality world as well, I think this is probably the first co-hosted webinar. So I wanted to especially thank Francis, Terry, Leanne, Nonsansa, and a lot of other people you don't see on the screen today. They are helping run this show for us. They are there as audience. So I wanted to thank them. It's been a really insightful session. And most importantly, I wanted to sort of thank my team here in Pakistan, Usman, Jahangir, Adia, Madiha. All of them have really helped us run this presentation for you without any blips. Once again, a special thank you to all, and our recordings are going to be available within 24 hours of this session, and I want to thank the audience who have stayed with us all that long. It's been a wonderful experience to have actually learned a lot about Vitality today. So with that, we'll sign off for the session today. Thank you so much.